Hey guys, in this video, I want to talk about year 1, year 2, and 3 of your detailing business so you can anticipate the problems that you might have as you start to grow. And if you're a beginner detailer or you've been detailing for a while, but you're making, let's say, under $30,000 to $40,000 a year, this video is going to be really important for you. Now, before we get into it, make sure to go below in the YouTube description box and grab my Essential Detailing Toolbox, which is the top 12 tools and products that I suggest for all auto detailers. This has been revised and updated for this year, so make sure to go below, grab that PDF. It comes with a free video series to show you guys exactly how not to use these products so you don't damage anything. Let's get into the video. And I'm just gonna make a simple graph right here that looks like an L. You guys can see that. In the beginning stages of your detailing business, it looks like this upward curve. This is where you're starting from zero, and we'll just put $0. When you begin in your detailing business, you're starting right here, and that's why the growth just looks straight upwards, because essentially you were starting from zero, you had nothing, and now all of a sudden you have something. So this is moving from 0 to 1. So in this first area right here, this is when a few things happen. Number 1, you've got business cards. I'm just gonna label this BC. Number 2, you might be handing out flyers. This is when you've got like friends, family who are coming into your detailing business. They're trying to help you out. That's when this initial growth happens. And generally speaking, when this initial growth happens, there's kind of this plateau right here. Essentially right here, we've got around 3 to 5 customers per week. And it's not always that you're getting exactly 3 to 5 customers per week, but let's say on average that's happening. Maybe some weeks you're getting 7, some weeks you're getting 2, but if you take your month to month average, it's somewhere between 3 and 5 customers a week. But there's also huge inconsistency in this particular area of your detailing business. Huge inconsistency. There's no real regular flow of customers, no regular customers who come back to you. You're just kind of in here grappling, trying to get everything you can. This is also when yes is your best friend. You're always saying yes, and it really doesn't matter on the price. So you're not really concerned about what you're making. You're just trying to get the customer in the door, and you never really turn anybody away. Now, there are a few problems that end up coming up with every single detailer. And like I said, after training literally hundreds of detailers at this point, we find that every detailer has the same exact problem. When you're in this phase of running really fast, trying to get as many customers as possible, what happens is your time is never allocated efficiently. And what I mean by this is you're a one-man show, and so you're constantly detailing cars. Most of them are really dirty because in the beginning stages, you always kind of end up finding these customers who have disgusting cars, and you're charging them $100, $150 to do it, and it's taking all day. You might see 1 customer, 2 customers, 3 customers, but this is taking all day to focus and put in the work here. So the thing that gets sacrificed is the long-term perspective of trying to build something that will bring in customers on a regular basis. Right here, we're doing referrals, we're calling people, we're getting some word of mouth, and word of mouth, I'll abbreviate it, is extremely powerful, but what happens to people is they become dependent on word of mouth in this stage. Why in the beginning stages do detailers get dependent on word of mouth? Because it's the strongest form of referral, inbound customers. That's the way it works, right? When somebody else sells your services for you, it's the most powerful type of referral. Obviously, what's the biggest problem with word of mouth? You cannot control it, and it is completely inconsistent. Now, word of mouth can become consistent over time when you become so established that you hit this tipping point, and in many ways in your city, you are associated with detailing at such a high level that you have plenty of word of mouth customers. But the beginning stages is not when that happens. So detailers have this huge pitfall where they're working 8 hours a day, no time to do anything else, dependent on word of mouth. What happens when detailers get in this cycle in the beginning stages of their business? Remember, this is year 1. This cycle is why most detailers end up failing in year 1, because the original growth looks like this, right? It begins to plateau and stay the same. The growth does not continue inevitably. And because you're working constantly, and there's really no strategy or efficiency in terms of scaling the business, there's this really slow and steady decline that happens just like this until you get so low, you're making so little money that you literally just have to quit. It's kind of this forced thing. This right here is the death of most detailers, just this slow slide. And generally, they're making somewhere between $0 and at the most around $30,000 per year in this stage, okay? Now, generally speaking, again, this is just statistically what we found. When detailers pass the 30,000 mark, they are significantly less likely to die here, to burn out. But generally speaking, they don't ever hit the 30, they hit more like 25, and that's when they start to decline just like this. So the big question is, what separates the detailers who make it from year 1 to year 2? Number one thing is reaching $30,000 in revenue, okay? If you can hit, and this is gross revenue, this is not minus expenses, net revenue, this is just very simply put, top line revenue. If you can hit $30,000 in your first year, this is one of those markers that continues the success of detailers. They end up not quitting. The other thing here is systems, and particularly online systems. The detailers who make it to year 2 have things and build things like a website, local listings. They're a little active on social media, but they use this locally. So they're not active on social media like trying to build a big following. This is local social media optimization. What does all of this mean? It means they're building a machine that actually brings in customers over time that is not word of mouth. Why is that so important? Because remember, when that word of mouth starts to crumble, it starts to fade, its inconsistencies start to seen in your business, that's when the steady decline happens. So the word of mouth works, it's going to continue to work, it's a fundamental part of any detailer's business, but the point is it's inconsistent and it's out of your control for probably the first few years. And because of that, there are these online systems that other detailers build that push them from year 1 to year 2. Now, what is the other big thing that separates the year 1 detailers from the year 2 detailers? High ticket services. What is a high ticket service? Something like a ceramic coating, okay? Paint correction. These are the high ticket services that detailers start to move into. Why? Because it's the lowest barrier of entry to increased cash flow in a detailing business. Often, when you move from year 1 to year 2, the detailer thinks, I gotta get an employee. I'm gonna have to hire somebody to come help me, da-da-da-da. That works sometimes. It's not inherently a mistake, right? That can be a solution. But the lowest barrier of entry to increase cash flow in a detailing business is to take the 8 hours a day that you're already working and leverage the 8 hours a day to create more money. Rather than creating $400 with this, we're gonna create $3,000 with this through the high ticket services. So I'm working the same hours per day, but I'm creating an exponentially increased cash flow. Now, if you make it this far, which most people don't, most detailers don't, but they move from year 2 to year 3, generally speaking, this is the most fun move. Why? Because at this point, the business has plenty of cash. And so you have options at this point. The year 2 to year 3 move is generally speaking when people take risks like bringing on employees, bringing on different people to run different softwares and systems in terms of inbound marketing, outbound marketing, all that sort of stuff. This is where you start to implement more high level, let's say online systems where you're going to have email campaigns, drip campaigns with text messages. You might have your own Facebook groups with customers. Maintenance clients gets introduced at a really high level because you have systems in order to do that. This is where things become systematized, and generally speaking, if you pass year 3 or you move into year 3, the detailing business is so likely to succeed, they rarely fail unless somebody just quits and wants to move to something else. So this is the idea in terms of detailing where you want to be. Year 3 tends to be that tipping point with most detailers. Now, it's important to understand that this is not the way every single detailing business operates, and many detailing businesses exist outside of this year 1, year 2, year 3 perspective, but on average, this is what most detailing businesses look like. And so this gives a bit of a longer term perspective for detailers who are saying, hey, I want to get in the business. Yes, get in the business. But when you're projecting out into what you can expect, oftentimes this follows a much more realistic kind of view of what things look like. In the first year, you can set up $3,000 to $5,000 a month in monthly cash flow. In year 2, you start to implement really high ticket services. These get implemented into what you're already producing. And in year 3, those two things together produce a lot of cash flow in the business where you have options. You can begin to experiment with things without it being detrimental or catastrophic for the business. And that's the way this thing generally unfolds. Now, if you're on the other end of this and you're wondering, well, what are the online systems that I implement? How do I do those things? Make sure to hit the subscribe button, because that's what we talk about here all the time on the Wilson Auto Detailing channel. How to build your detailing business using online systems, marketing campaigns, these things that detailers generally don't talk about because we're reviewing products, which is good, but we're not actually learning how to build real businesses. So hit the subscribe button if you want to build a real detailing business. And like I said before you leave, make sure to go below in the YouTube description box and grab my Essential Detailing Toolbox, the top 12 tools and products of this year that I suggest for any detailers who are starting in the business, and they're all available for under $500 total. So there's not many businesses where you can start it up for less than $500, but this is one of them, luckily. The link is in the YouTube description box below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next video.